We are thrilled to have you all join us from different programs, whether you are here live or catching the recording later. We appreciate your time and interest.
Before we commence the webinar, we would like to invite Ms. Delia Olibal, Head of Academy of Language Studies, representing UiTM Sabah, to give a short welcoming address. Ms. Delia, if you may.
Good morning, Mr. Liu.
Good morning, Delia.
Good morning, Mr. Joseph and all the students. We would like to thank you for your time and also your commitment with us today. So I also have my students joining your seminar. So I hope they will also get a lot of information from you regarding, what is outside there, what they are expecting. Yeah. All right. I think that's all from me. I'm not going to say much. So I'm going to pass the floor to you, Mr. Liu.
Yeah, thank you for the warm welcome. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Good. So thank you.
Before
Thank you.
that,
I really appreciate it.
we want to appreciate Mr. Liu's contribution for this webinar. We would like to share the certificate of appreciation in advance on behalf of UiTM Sabah by Ms. Delia.
Okay, thank you. So, well, I guess I will just probably start by sharing. I will start by sharing the slides later. But I think first of all, I just want to give my full appreciation for everyone here in UiTM, for just giving me some time to speak to you. I think I have a lot of fun talking to people. It's more and I think the fun comes from really sharing a lot of my lifelong experience and with everyone. I think that's the greatest gift you can give to people. You learn so many things in life. You do so many things, and I think the best way is to give it back. You can give it in form of money. You can give it in form in your beliefs. You can give it in form in terms of your experience and everything else. But I think nothing is more valuable than really giving. You've taken so much from the world in the years that you come, and I think nothing gives me more pleasure than giving it back. So this is one of my ways. To really give back, and I hope that I'm able today to really share this experience that I have with all of you. Couple of things I think which I discussed with the moderator is regarding today was this is not a lecture. Okay, this is you get a lot of benefit from your lecturers and subject matter expert that you go across. This is really a dialogue, which I really like to have. Interactive two ways, and the way I think this will work well is that you have learn a lot in your classrooms in relation towards concept theories and everything else that goes across. But the big question for you is that does this work in the real world? And I think this is one of those things that that you are curious, and this is an opportunity for you to really do that. And I'm very happy to engage in any particular question you have. If I don't know the answer, I say I don't know. Very simple. And I won't know everything. I know what I've seen and I've done, and that's one. The second one, of course, the main topic. The main topic is that all of you are, go to college, and some of you probably entering your final year and thinking about your next step, which is how do I get a job, how do I prepare myself, how do I make better. It's scary, it's your first one, and you're just thinking that what's there out there. And what I hope to do, of course, is to able to to encourage you, to give you confidence, to give you ideas, and also to motivate to go on, and to have this fight spirit, keep going, don't give up, because you are so young. You are so young. You are so you are going to be the people of the future. And I, as much as possible, like to encourage all of you, to really be confident, and to build that confidence in you. And again, in this session, use against the full opportunity for me to really to tell you about when you do a job application, how do you prepare, how do you expect when you get your first job, and how do you eventually grow and become successful. The last part which I wanted to share with all of you is, of course, today would be, of course, about my career. I have a special career, and which is global in nature. I've worked in every possible continent in the world, most countries in the world, and I have been able to achieve very, very high level of success in the corporate world, and to give example, I'm probably, in my industry, I am probably the only Asian executive who have made it to the level which I've in my last role. And this is not meant to be to say how good or how great I am. That's not the point. The point is that me, being a simple boy living in a small Malaysian town, can make it. And I hope that this represents more of a nature that you can do it, if you want to. Not everyone will make it, but you have a chance. And I think the real idea is to give you that level of idea, that to think big, and of course to, again, as a part of confidence building, going forward. So it's a nice story that I'll tell towards the third part. But I guess it's I think it's valuable to give some of motivation to all of you. Okay, I hope that's all right. I appreciate that if you can do a few things for me. One is that feel free to ask questions, either at the beginning, when I give the stop me in the middle of the slide if you want to. I think, as I said, this is dialogue. This is not a lecture. So please go ahead and stop me anytime you feel like. At the end of every slide, I will ask everyone whether there's any questions. And you have a second chance to ask me a question at that point. And of course, at the end of the period, there will be a Q&A where question can also be asked. Yeah, but do not leave all your questions at the bank. I've sitting in seminars, I've been in lecture. I think sometimes when you leave it to the end, you end up saying that I either forget the questions, or my questions has been answered in the slides, or you say that, you know what, it's too much. I've sat through 1 hour plus. I don't feel I want to ask again. So I think this is more to encourage you to, because we are having a dialogue, to really ask you to really ask as much as you can. Okay. Don't worry about interruption. It is not. I encourage you. This is not impolite. I think because, as I said, this is structured more like a dialogue. All right, good. So with this, Naeem and Hazim, any particular thing that you want to say before I start presenting?
Yeah, we have a little bit 2 or things we need to say.
Yeah.
We're gonna explain about the brief keeping. Hazim.
Okay, thank you, Naeem. So I'm sure you all are excited for today. But before we started, just a few quick housekeeping notes. This session is being recorded and will be shared with you afterward. And second, as Mr. Liu already said, please feel free to ask questions anytime during the presentation by raising your hand or posting in the chat box at any point. We will be addressing them accordingly, because this is an interactive session and not a lecture. So now sit back, stay engaged, and enjoy the session.
Okay, before that, I think it's proper for me to introduce the speaker once again. The speaker for today is Mr. Liu Yu Lui, whom has many wealth of experience from being the president of Boehringer Ingelheim USA, president of Bristol Myers Squibb China, and many decades of leadership experience internationally. We are truly honored for his willingness to share his wealth of experience with us today. Today, he'll be speaking on a subject that is timely, relevant, and impactful. Now, without further ado, please join me in welcoming Mr. Liu.
Thank you very much. Okay, I will start with just presenting my slide, and so that's how it's gonna go. All right, cool. Naim, can everyone see my slides?
Yes, I can see it.
Oh.
Can you see it?
All right, good.
Yes, clear.
Okay, cool. Okay, so yeah, I think the main topic today is, of course, as I mentioned, very clear that what we hope to achieve is to give you some tips about, first of all, how to prepare yourself to get a job. And second is that, of course, as you start the job, what do you expect when you do a job to become very successful on your first few steps as you go forward, right? So here I am. All right, Naim and Azim, thank you for introducing me. I'll give a little bit more detail. I come from Penang, Malaysia. Of course, I live in Penang, a Penang boy. Live in a small town in Penang, and I studied in a small town in Seberang Perai called Nibong Tebal, my primary school on the left-hand side. And then I went to Sekolah Asrama Penuh, which is Sekolah Menengah Sains Pulau Pinang, which is in Bukit Mertajam. That is also in Seberang Perai. And then, upon finishing that, I went to, there's a matriculation program, which then I joined USM, which is linked towards Sekolah Menengah Sains, and I took up pharmacy, in USM, and then as I progressed in my, I went to work, and then typically I thought, okay, if I were to work in a corporate world, what should I do? And kind of a very natural that most people do is I need to do a management studies, and then I did an MBA, at UC Hull, and then eventually I went one more step further in honing my program, in management, is to go to take part in a general management development program, which gone through around a 3-year period with INSEAD in Fontainebleau in France. So that's really where, and everyone knows INSEAD, and I think I also did that also in order to get a kind of a recognition from a prestigious management school. My career highlights, I think what I would like to describe in one word is that I've worked across the world. I've worked in Asia Pacific, India, Middle East, Africa, Latin America, Japan, China, Europe, and also United States, which is my last role. And you can see that I've worked across the world, and I think this is probably the most satisfying part of my career and my life, because you get to know what really the world is all about, and I think and you're able to say, okay, you know, what do you know about Russia? You know, what do you know about Kenya? What do you know about Chile? You know, and places which are far away, and does it work? You know, can you fit in and all this kind of thing? So it's been a biggest pleasure, and of course I end up my career working in United States of in the USA, which is the world largest market and the world most competitive market in the world. And you can say that, you know, can I stand working with the people from Wall Street, the people from all these famous universities, the Harvard, Yale, Columbia, you know, and all the top people that you have seen in magazines, article and stuff like that, you know, across the world. And you know, that has been really my career highlight, to able to really see myself vis-a-vis the world, you know. And of course my personal life is also very fulfilling. Where do I, what a little bit on my personal side, where do I live? I currently live in Singapore, you know, and I also live in Brooklyn, where my I have another home. So so I go back and forth. So I put this flight, which I take all the time, is the world longest flight. You know, I took it from Singapore. You can fly directly to JFK or to Newark, and that is 19 hours, approximately 19 hours. So that's the world longest flight. And this, I do it like 4 times a year, where I go back and forth to the United States. You know, my children stay there, and me and my wife, and we stay there. So I stay in the US about 4 months a year. I stay 4 months in Singapore in a year, and the rest of the time I spend it in Penang, Malaysia, where I live with my mother. I visited my mother and a member of my family, and the rest I also spend in the rest of the world in general. So even though today I've retired, I still do a lot of travel. Last year I did 50 over flights, and this year I think I will be on track to do more than 50 flights in general. So I like it, and you can see why. You know, what is my current interest? I like to travel. I enjoy food a lot, so every time I travel, I make sure that I eat interesting things, and I keep fit and healthy. You know. Okay, now a trivia question. Can anyone recognize the travel part, the sunset? Where is that?
Oh.
Any guess?
I think in the Langkawi.
Okay. All right. So actually, I was in Kota Kinabalu last week. I spent a couple of days with friends, and then this is the sunset in KK. Across there is Pulau Gaya. Of course, you don't see Mamute, Manukan, and all this on the left side, but it was a beautiful sunset. So I was in KK last week. You know, the one in the middle is me in a restaurant in Bali, which I was there about 2 weeks ago. And on the right hand side is in Singapore, the Padang, where it's facing the CBD. So I play. I'm a tennis player mostly, but I play this pickleball to socialize, to keep fit, and I do various different exercises. But you know, this is how my life is at the present moment. All right, good. Okay, now away from the private stuff, I like to do a little bit of fun thing. I like everyone to take up your phone and scan the QR code. And I want you to participate in a survey which I have created. You know, this is an icebreaker for you to participate. So there are 3 questions which I like you to answer. One is that, where would you see yourself working? In terms of location, I ask you to please select 2 locations that you think you're likely to work. The second question is that, would you be willing to work outside Malaysia? And Okay, the first one is that what type of work would you like to do? Working in which sector? Second one will be location, but location means you can choose all location if you want, all the choices, or you can choose selected choice. And the third question is that what would be your aspiration? And I will ask you to select two. So if you, I assume that I'll wait for another 15 seconds before I move on to the page, but please scan now and then and put in your response. All right, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I'll get into this page. So I'm sure you have the three questions. Now, question 1, question 2, and question 3. All right. So let's see. We have 15 responses, but we have 40 over people. So I'll wait for a while before I present the results. Okay, we reached 25, so I will just do a countdown and then 10 before I start to present. 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, we got 28 people who responded, so I'll just present the results. First question was, where would you see yourself working? So to select 2. So we can see that majority of you put government as first choice, 47%, followed by private local, and then followed by NGOs, followed by entrepreneur, and 9% is on multinationals. Interesting. Question number 2. Would you be willing to work outside Malaysia? You are asked to select as many as you like. 5% will like only to work in Malaysia. Many of you actually shows that you are willing to travel outside Malaysia, 36% in ASEAN, 25% in anywhere, 16% venture very far into Europe, USA, and within Asia, outside ASEAN and Middle East, there's another 15%. So yeah, that's interesting that many of you are adventurous and willing to work outside Malaysia and even very far. Third, what is your aspiration? Okay, and very consistent. You can see that many of you see government as a very, very interesting career. Remember on the first slide, 47 choose to work in the government service. And then aspiration is to become a government officer, which of course, preferably promoted and in a senior position. And many of you are also seeing yourself as a manager. So you like to manage, not just stay in contrast in operations. Operation would mean that you are more into the first line, you're more into not become manager, but become a subject matter expert, and more would prefer manager. And we see some of you would become, some are interested to become your own entrepreneur, your own business, and we see some would be happy to work as a social work, which is very normal nowadays for people to work in social work. And 7% of you will see yourself as CEO or C-suite, which means that is the executive committee of the highest level in the company as 7%. Interesting result. Okay, so good. So no need to make a conclusion of it. There's nothing right or wrong, but I think it's good to see what everyone is thinking in general. All right. Okay, we'll get into the dialogue session here, and of course, as I mentioned earlier, I appreciate that if we can make this an interactive session. The first topic I'll talk about would be preparing and increasing your chances for success in job application in a multinational company. Two would be if you get into a company, but again, it's not exclusive. I speak from a multinational standpoint, but I think it's very important to say that it's applicable if you are applying for working in a government job, or which many of you are showing a lot of interest in, private or local or private multinational, work applying for NGOs, all these kind of role, they are more or less similar with minor changes in it. So it's applicable in today what I will talk about. Number two is growing and building your career in multinational. Okay, and it's generally also equally applicable, with the exception that I do speak on working outside the country, but I think it's also relevant because many of you have indicated that you are willing and would consider working outside Malaysia, and I think that will be very helpful as we touch that part. And the third section would be that in UiTM, my understanding is that the school did encourage you on certain type of value and competency, and I would like to emphasize that they are very practical and equally important when you go outside in the real world. And I will try to explain why what has been advocated by the college is equally applicable outside and very important too. Then I'll share a little bit of my success story. And then we open this up to topic from students if there's any particular topic you want to talk about. And then we'll do a Q&A and take any questions that you have. And then we do, of course, I'll end up with some key takeaways. And hopefully that you can, to close the whole meeting. All right. Good. All right. So I will move to the next one, which is how to be successful in a job application, and how do you prepare your resume? How do you, compete against those many people as you apply for a job? Now, job application is it's in the multinational world, but also I believe applicable to others. If the job is a very interesting job, you will get a lot of people applying. Sometimes for 5 positions, you may have, in my experience, you may have 500 people, 1,000 people, and in very prestigious job, you might get 10,000 people applying for just 5 jobs. And what do we do, in those situations? Now, I can also give a similar example because you are in college. That imagine you're applying for college, and you're submitting the application, and the people who are selecting you to enter the college is a kind of the same process. That many applications. What do these people do? And I wouldn't say what I do represent everyone. I think everyone is different, but I can only say what I do, you know, and also what my companies do when that happens. Now we get this many applications that we get, and you know, we, I mean, it's almost literally impossible to go through all this resume. Okay, so typically what we do is that we will go through a screening process, and the screening process would be you know, okay, you know, what college they come from, what kind of degree they have, you know, do they have any particular experience, you know, and do they have anything which is outstanding in their so you go through a process which you want to reduce that 10,000 application into like short list of maybe 50 for 5 jobs, you know, and then you go through that, and before you start your interview process. So in general, the question is that, wow, you know, how do I get into that 50, you know, and I think that's really that of course you will have to say that how can you be outstanding and be noticed in that particular area. So this is basically what I'm trying to kind of have this discussion going, is that how do you become that person who gets into the interview process? That's what you want to get to, because you know, then interview, you're competing, you have but when you go to interview, you have a chance. But if you do not go into interview, then you don't have a chance. So basically what you want to do is to really have a chance. So and this is what I would like to talk about now. I Number one point is that what you want to do is, who am I? You know, who am I? Who are you? You know, and what are you good in? And in this, what I mean is that what is your superpower? That's why you see this Superman, Supergirl, Superboy logo out here, is to understand really who you are and what you are really good in, you know. And it's not about areas that you're not good in or areas that you're trying to fulfill. It's about what area that you are excelling in. A lot of times people are focusing about how do I cover, how do I improve on my weakness? How do I improve on my, you know, my gap, you know, we call that gap analysis in terms of career, and focus on fulfilling this special need, this difference, what you're not good in, and rather than trying to say that what I'm really good in. Now, companies, when we look through and we look for exceptional people, we are looking for people uh, who have exceptional skills, and we can detect in the selectors who are doing those screening, we can detect people who really know their stuff, really know what they are going for, and etc. So what is important for you is to, as you think through, you know, I assume that most of you are in the end of your 3rd year or 4th year or 5th year, depending on what you are. Just say you're entering your final year. Use this timing to really understand what you're really good in. Now, what you're really good in is not necessarily just the possibility would be your functional skills. You know, if you are in economics, you're probably good in economics. If you are like me, a pharmacist, you're probably good in pharmacists. You're engineer, you're good in engineering. You know, if you study communications, you're probably good in communications. So that's one of your probable area that you are good in, probably. But there are other things that you potentially are also good in, which may not be in your studies. For example, you might be good in artificial intelligence. You're very good in social media because it's more of an experience, and you might be good in soft skills. You are good in creativity, you're good in innovation, you're good in solution finding, many things you're very, very good in. And it's very, very important for you to really understand what is your tendency. I believe that everyone is different. We have different in terms of our DNA, which is a basic. We are different in terms of how we are brought up by family. These are all environmental factor, how you grow up, what school you go in, environment affects you. But it's very important to really understand who you really are, And it can be a topic which is completely out of your areas of expertise, and nobody knows. But it's very important to kind of emphasize that in general. Just assume that you are an outdoor person and you always go up in a group. And naturally, you find yourself as, the leader, the one who set up the direction. You are the one who is like, well, if there is a little bit more of losing your way, and then suddenly you are the one who step up and say this. You're the one who gather people together and discuss and say that, okay, now we don't have fire. What do we want to do? Somebody fall and get hurt. You are the person who is there. So, and I would say that you probably have a natural leadership style, and it's not in your education, it's nothing there. But I think these are all very, very important to highlight. For example, you realize that, wow, in a lecture hall, I'm very open with my ideas. I speak freely. And so you're probably a good communicator. You're a good someone. So in general, these are things which is a good understanding of who you are in that sense. So the question will be that so it's very important for people to know your special capabilities in that sense. Yeah. Now, then the question that you have for me would be that, well, okay, I don't really know what my superpower is. I do not really understand if or I want to develop superpower and try to find where my superpower is, then you can do things like internship, taking part in association society to figure out things out, try things out, and try to find out what really is an area that you are good in. This is how you can use the period, and then as you submit and try to work on your job application the next time, then you will say, well, now I've done this, now I know where I am. So do take this chance to really understand who you are. Now, the second point which I want to talk about is learning agility. Now, agility is very, very important. How do I say in social life? In social life, you will say that, well, are you Steve, or you are the one who is thinking very quick on your feet? That kind of approach. Now, during when we are when you apply for a job, and especially when you go for any kind of interview, especially if you get an interview, agility become very important. But we can also see agility when you put into your application, and of course, company prefer people who are agile, means flexibility, thinking and everything. But again, what do you mean by learning agility? It's about, you can see, it's about self-awareness. Again, back into someone who really know themselves. You know, you are self-aware about your strength and your weaknesses. Number two will be mental agility, is about problem solving, about the ability to look at, solving a problem instead of, and in different ways. So you're able to find different ways to think about a problem. People agility, which is of course, again, we understand this more like ability to connect with people, able to speak your mind and all this kind of thing in general. Changeability, change agility, the ability to, of course, adaptation in different ways. And of course, result agility, which is the ability to really achieve the results in different ways if needed in order to achieve goal. So these are more flexibility and adaptation. Now, why are we looking for people like that? Because we, in the work environment, we see there's a couple of things. One is that there's always ever changing. And therefore we need a lot of ideas. We want people to be able to address those change. We want people with many different ideas. Now, people with learning agility, good learning agility, has the ability to be flexible and able to look at different solutions to go there. Now, so that is of course very, very important for companies when they think about it, or any environment that you have. Now, the second thing is, of course, learning agility is also the ability to go through development. Now, when any organization look at people, they look at the potential for the person to grow, right? So someone with high learning agility means that the person can learn along the way, teachable. So when someone is teachable, instead of being stubborn and not changing their mind, then the person can learn from mistake and grow and grow and grow and grow. So of course, organization will be looking at people, what we call potential. Potential comes from, very much has a big contribution from learning agility. So the question then you ask me is that, how do I train, or how do I, during my final year here, of course, here examples will be, you can practice these experiences with home and social, with family and friends. You can, of course, get that from colleges, your interaction daily, practice all this thing. And then, of course, always you can do it on the job to really pick up this learning agility piece. Now, third point about is emotional intelligence. We talk about EQ, okay? And every time when we as you know, when you apply for a job, the basic foundation is about who you know, right? And that's an easy one if you have friends, family, people who know you, who are working in high positions in certain place when you submit application. It's a no-brainer that the connections that you build will allow you to maybe have a better chance to do that. And of course, that's real. Any environment, when you apply for a job, is about who you know. So it's very, very important, as you were to work on a certain target, a certain role, target a certain job, target a certain organization, is to try to be engaged and involved in those organizations. Now, whether you work in association, you work in NGOs, you do social work, whatever opportunity that you have, if you are you're able to meet people who are hiring, who are in those positions to make decision of hiring. If you know the person and the person say, "Ah, yeah, I met you," yeah, or maybe the person cannot remember. You say, "Oh, I used to work on that, and we meet you there." You can imagine that or you put in your job application that I work. Just say you work for Maybank, and then you say that I participate in a project in Maybank in this time, blah blah blah, and they're doing all this work. I do an intern with Maybank or something like that, and blah, blah, blah. Your chances increase dramatically. So that's a very, very physical part in terms of what you can do prior to the job application. But then you have a question. You say, okay, now what if I don't have connections? What if I don't have people that I know? You know, what do I do? You know, then emotional intelligence become important. What is emotional intelligence? You can see out here, you know, a couple of points, you know, about recognize, understand emotion, which is mean understanding yourself. When you meet people, what state or emotion are you in? You know, which means that just say you have a bad day, you know, maybe you should not go out and meet people, or aware that you have a bad day. So you know, and but when you have a good day, that's a time where you go out and you socialize, and then you can, you know, depending on what you're trying to do that day, you know. And then of course, respond, don't react, which means that when you are discussing a certain point, respond means a positive contribution to the discussion and not being defensive, you know, in that sense, but which means that you respond to the situation. Active listening, flexibility, empathy means be aware of what other people are around and grow in it. But now all this, what does it actually mean? You know, I know all this theoretical approach towards the whole thing, but if you are able to master emotional intelligence, what it does is that it helps people to really like you. People want to work with you. People feel that you are somebody who understands them. People feel that you can collaborate with you. Now, this is the other part. One is having the people you know, the connections you have. But it is very important that people feel that they can work with you. They like you. They like your company, because working is a social experience, you know, and this will get you a long way to invest in emotional intelligence, because this is where people say, "Oh, I like this person, you know, I like to be his friend. I like to work with him. I think he has this ability to be good with people." You know, things like that. You know, so all this is very, very important to display this emotional intelligence. Now, of course, what does this appear in a resume? A resume will appear like, okay, you know, I work in teams. This is the project I do. This is the things I do. Put them in so that people can see that, wow, this person is really you know, display a lot of what you call emotional intelligence in that thing. But of course, this comes more full in play when you get into the interview process, where, wow, you know, the interviewer likes you immediately, you know, because you have mastered the art of emotional intelligence naturally. Now, fourth point is take action. Okay, so here's a quote from Martin Luther King. I won't repeat it. It's about taking the first step, but you have, it's just like applying for university, you know, you if and imagine you apply, you think, which university should I go to? Should I choose this? Should I choose that? It means nothing until you submit the application. and until the university make you an offer, right? So what that first step means is to submit the application to as many as possible of organizations that you want to work with. If you have to submit 10, do it. If you have to submit 50, do it. You have to submit 100, do it. Because you know, the real thing happens when you are given an offer. Anything you discuss, oh, you know, I prefer here, I don't prefer there, means nothing unless you get an offer from a company. So my encouragement is that, remember, it makes no difference. Remember, when you do your college application, unless 5 universities offer you a position, and then you can say, now I can choose 1 out of the 5, you know. I do this, I don't like this course and all this kind of thing. But before that, if nobody gives an offer, it means nothing. So take that first step, apply as many as possible where you think it's going to be, and then get that job. Remember, on the background, which I explained earlier, that there's, in a very competitive job market today, you know, it was much more easier my day, where I would say today maybe it's an exaggeration that 10,000 people will apply for 5 jobs. You know, in my day, probably it's 100 people apply for 5 jobs. I know it's harder for you all today, you know, and therefore, you know, my apply as many as possible, you know, and do that. Now, the other part is that when you are making the application, remember that every job is an experience. There might be job that you like. There's a job that is your dream job. There's job that is closer to that, but still within the range. There are job which is well, so right in the middle. There are jobs that, no, that's not what I want to do. You know, and you have many different situations. But when you are working, when you are starting your career, remember, it's all about accumulating experience. That is on top of economic needs, because you need to get paid, you know, along the way. So I'm not asking you not to be selective, but be aware of the reality, right? So you need to get paid, you need to get experience. So sometimes it's okay to take certain jobs to get paid and to gain experience. Take that as a step, and you can always find another job later. So therefore, again, apply this principle of whatever is relevant, apply as much as possible, and then take that first step. And take that first step to take the job. Always remember, you can always change it later. And second is that, you know, take each job as a positive step, that you're learning something new. And that will gather into finding your superpower, building your learning agility, and of course, help you with emotional intelligence and many different other skills that will help you along the way. It's a journey, and I've learned that you know, day one, I'm just like you, and then at the end of my journey, I start to see everything, because you only can see it when you experience it. So it's a journey, you know, and I would encourage you to apply as many as possible, and then and accumulate as much more as you go along, as much more experience as much as possible, and that will of course make you and grow you. Now, time is your friend, not your enemy. Okay, so always remember that when you make an application, that your time, you know, don't worry about time. You know, you might think, oh no, that I you know, I don't get a response and all this kind of thing, and everything else, or you know, I'm losing time and all this kind of thing. You know, I think many of you are in your early 20s. You know, you have at least 40 years more of working life, 40 years more to build a career. You know, I'm not saying that you should wait 40 years, I'm just saying that before you reach 30, of course, you need to be established before you reach 30. That's what my recommendation is. But you have approximately somewhere around 6 to 8 years or 9 years of time. And always remember, try to make time your friend. Use that to be, as I said here, be strategic in terms of how you plan your career. And so that you say that, don't worry, I will do this. I invest in my experience. I will get to what I want to get there. Second is it allows you to be realistic. Okay, I may not get my dream job today, but you know what? If I do this first, I will get to my job. So that makes you realistic, and also make you take practical actions in order to try to get there. Okay. Now, all these 5 things, that you do, if you can kind of combine them, again, these are not all inclusive, and of everything, I know there's so many, I think there's so many other ideas that can have for preparation to get a job application. But remember that everything you do from point 1 to point 5 or point 7, 8, 9, 10 that you do, you are actually building your DNA. Okay, every experience will be embedded to you, and then you will get better and stronger. And if you kind of take the Darwin theory of survival of the fittest, the species which evolution, every time it goes through years of adaptation, and they make the species stronger and better, something along that line. If I were to apply DNA from biology into in that concept. So, keep building your DNA, and one day you'll be very surprised with yourself that, wow, suddenly I'm a Superman, a Supergirl, Superwoman, Superboy. You will be surprised that, as you accumulate all this experience, you will become better. And one day you will tell the story of how you became successful, and then you'll see all this cumulative experience. So this is what I would like to talk on job application. Anyone have any questions before I move to the next topic?
Yes, Mr. Liu, I have a couple of questions.
Okay, good.
So, do you think it's beneficial for us students to be charismatic during interviews to get a better chance to get a job?
Okay, I would, if I change charismatic, I would say in languages which I use will be to speak up, to genuine, be real, demonstrate emotional intelligence, and charismatic is one of the manifestation of doing all this. But these are what? Now, you can be charismatic, but you will be you can be charismatic, but you can also be not real. You can also be overconfident. You might overstep on all this kind of thing. But in general, of course, charismatic is good, but it must be built on the proper foundation, right? Because it falls into the space of learning agility, speak up and all this kind of thing. And of course, we are looking for people who are, of course, able to express themselves freely and openly. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr.
Does
Liu.
that make sense?
Yeah, that makes
Yeah.
so much sense.
Yeah.
So I have another question, which is, how do you build confidence to take the first step for people that like shy or introverted?
Okay. Confidence building, there are 2 ways. Okay. There are people who are naturally gifted in confidence, right? So they are like, okay, okay, they are so sure about themselves and they're confident, so natural gifted. It's just like speaking, as because your extrovert introvert discussion that you're having here, or this guy speaks publicly, or this girl speaks publicly very well, and then, oh, I'm not that kind of person. Okay, so, and thinking about that and public speaking, and use example, confidence in public speaking. Then you say, your question is that I'm not naturally gifted as a public speaker. How do I be good in public speaking? Right? Same question. So the question is that prepare the facts. If you had the facts. Number two is believe the facts, because you need to believe, be real, because you need to know, okay, I believe in this. No, this is what I do, And third, of course, is preparation. And I have known people who are introvert, not good in public speaking. When they do all these three, they become good, So similar when you are getting confidence, if your facts are right, somebody in the room who is confident but have no facts. Just give example. If you're having a discussion on, well, economy of Malaysia is good, yeah, I see a bright future for Malaysia. I have full of confidence about my country. Okay, for example. All right. So that will be confidence on the country. Then the introvert will say, well, you know what? What do I do? And I cannot speak that kind of confidence. So you can say, well, you know what? I look at our GDP growth. Our GDP growth is currently sitting at about 3%. I see 20 billion of foreign direct investment coming in. There's another, so we see, and therefore, as a result, that they will see another 10 factories. The 10 factories will result in us exporting or produce more, and that produce more will improve the GDP from 4% to 5%, 1 more percent due to those investments. Secondly, we have number of jobs today and maybe increase our job availability by 6%. So there will be higher consumption of, and higher consumption means a growth in GDP. And therefore, I think the GDP, I have very full confidence in this country GDP that it will grow from 4 to 5 because of this factor. Can you see what's the difference in the confidence?
Yes, I can see. So it's basically being knowledgeable.
Being able to build that foundation in that particular area, and also to believe in it, because you see, if you say things which you do not believe in, you will be terrible, because your facts, you are not gripping with the facts, and then people, you're not convincing because you are just reading out from an article and you don't believe it. So the other part is that, do you believe in what you say? So you ask a question for those introverts, even though you have the facts, do you believe in those facts? Are you into it? But I can tell you, the biggest thing is that, so you can see the difference. You can see that people who are confident, gifted, but they don't work on the facts, they will lose. The people who are overconfident, that I call that either overconfident or confident with the fact, versus an introvert who has the facts and be real about it. The discussion on the room, who will win, right? The person with the facts and believing in it will win versus someone who is just blowing hot air, And this is how, and then with that, you know, is how you build confidence. And it's that. But however, for introverts, when you build those confidence factor that I mentioned, remember to speak it up. You know, so sometimes you can build all these factors and you say, well, you know what? You cannot say it out, you know, you don't have that. And of course, at that point of time, then it has no benefit. So you have to, once you have those confidence builder foundation, then you have to speak it out.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Liu.
Okay.
Azim?
Okay, so there is one more question from the chat box
Okay, sure.
from Hanizatul Najwa.
Yeah.
And the question is, can you share a time when you overcame a major challenge in a multinational company and what you learned from it?
Oh, okay, all right. Yeah, I can share one of those experience which I have. Let me okay. One of these experience which I have was I was working in Singapore. At that time, I was the country manager, and one of my boss approached me and say, YL, which is my how people call me, my first name. We would like you to go to Korea to work, just like that, you know. And then and I said, well, I do not know anything about Korea. And then I asked the question. I said, okay, what do you want me to do in Korea? You know, and then the boss say, we want you to grow our business in Korea. We want you to send you there. And then I said, okay, I'm sure there's many other people who are better than me. So and okay, you know, why me? Then the boss was then struggling and was saying, well, you know what? It's a very difficult situation. The company actually was involved in some issues. The country manager, the finance director was arrested, and therefore, you know, and that happened about a year ago. We want you to go back in and fix the problem. I said, look, I have never been to Korea. I've not done that before, and you know, why me again? You know, and then I saw my boss. He was struggling a little bit, and he said that you know what, you know, he's giving me all this. Well, and in the end, he said, you know what? Actually, nobody wants a job, right? And he said, you know why? You know, this is we had a problem being involved in so-called corruption scandal. The company reputation is not very good. We not just want to you to run the business, but we want to build this business, and we want to bring we sold this business to the local company. We want to get it back, and then we want to rebuild our business in the country. I said, whoa, you know, I mean, this is like climbing Mount Everest, you know. I mean, 10,000 problems and do that. Now, this is kind of like a dilemma that I have. I said, wow, you know, in the first response, of course, is I have a kind of like a victim mentality. I said, oh, nobody wants this job. So that's why they come to me, because nobody wants a job, and then and etc. etc. So the first thinking that came to me was negative, and then and second is that, wow, they give me mission impossible, and how am I to go to Korea, don't understand the country, don't know anything, don't know what's going on. Maybe I might go to jail because of whatever the problems they have. And on top of that, they want me to go and buy back the company from the local Korean company, which again is like, how am I going to do that? Because the only thing I know is to buy things from supermarket. How can I buy things from acquire a company back from another one? It's like, it was like Mount Everest. And then you will say, okay, what am I going to do here? And going through all this process, right? All the negatives, very normal. And then I think then I kind of said, okay, enough. I either I say no, or I stay where I am, where I'm secure, safe, nothing, and all this kind of thing. And on top of that, my wife had to quit her job. We're on double salary in Singapore, and then and she has to quit her job. We had to move there. 2 years later, 1 year later, nothing happens. Then I don't have a job, and a lot of things I had to think about, all negatives. And then something in me tell me that, why don't you look at the positive? Okay. If nobody wants to do the job, nobody, and the problem is huge. What if I take the job, showing openness to challenges, the worst challenge that you can have? And number two, what if I can solve the issue, right? So the answer to the question was that there's a way to think. There's two ways to think about it. One is to think negative, logical, and the other one is to think in a what if scenario on the positive. And in the end, I took the decision to go to Korea and take that job and take the chance. Now, the conclusion, of course, is positive, everything. I won't go through that. But I think the important part, the question that is directed to me was, when you face difficult challenges like this, how do you react? How do you overcome it? And I overcome it by looking at, remember emotional intelligence earlier? I said, okay, respond, not react, right? So react means, wow, this is negative, difficult and all this stuff. Respond means we need something to be done. We want it to be done. So then you start to think positive. How can it be done? Respond means you offer a job. Do you want to take it? Respond. Yes or no. Second is that this is the things that we need to solve. Respond. So there's a difference, a reaction between response, and then during that time, I wouldn't say that I was super experienced, but I was saying that by time instinct just tell me that look at the positive side of things, respond instead of react, and then I took the role. And I think that has a big growth factor, in a huge personal growth factor for me, big experience, because you, whenever you make a decision like that, it changes you. It changes your perspective, and it just increase your breadth of things, how you think. Okay. Is that all right, the answer?
Yeah, that is one hell of an answer.
Okay, good. I would suggest we move on. I will go to the next area. And now we go into the area where, it's about, now, if you get a job, again, as I said, not necessarily multinational, but because many of you did respond that you like to work in the government and things like that. Thank you for doing public service, to the country, but it also applicable in that particular sense. Yeah. So whenever I will try to describe career pathing, what happens to someone when they work in a company and assume, or any organization, and you work for 30 years, what truly happened, in that sense. Okay, when you first start a job, entry-level job, and you start, you are seen as, your role is actually, entry level will be highly capable individual. How do you contribute to the organization is through talent, knowledge, skill, and work habits. Now, okay, to make it a bit more understandable, I would try, to kind of map it with a career in a college, right? So say you enter college, just so you want to work for UiTM, maybe your first job will be like, okay, you become a tutor, tutor, supporting the lecturer, or the professor. So you start as a tutor, and of course, your job is to use what you are, your master student, trying to be doing your PhD or whatever it is. So basically, you try to make your contribution as an individual, and of course, it's all very functionally driven, functional skills. If you are going to a computer company, they will ask you to do things such as, okay, data entry, all this kind of thing, very basic stuff. I'm a pharmacist, I go to, they say, okay, be a pharmacist, advise how to use drugs and everything else, so that's what was expected from you. Now, the next part, when you progress in the company or any organization, and you say, okay, now you've done a great job as an individual, we want you to lead a team. You can be a supervisor formally, or you become a team leader. So among your peers, you are being asked to become the unofficial team leader, or you become a natural team leader. You have 10 colleagues on the same position, and then you become the unofficial leader, right? So when you are working in group and things like that, from an individual, you will start to become, the next step is that you go to the concept that we no longer work alone. Okay, you go into the step where you say that parts of the many, when add together, become very, very strong. So it become like you are contributing to the group objective. Okay, so you don't see yourself as the solution, you see yourself as part of the solution, share it with solution from others, and then work effectively among each other, and then you combine and deliver the result. So this is the beginning of what we call understanding group dynamics, understanding the correlation between others. You cannot be successful alone. You're working in an organization. You're working, so you need to collaborate and work with other people, and you are only one part of the success. So you start to do that. So over here, the awareness start to move a little bit from pure functional into a little bit more of group coordination, group dynamics. That's the second stage, and that second stage, some people will come in any, as I mentioned, you are called a team leader, or maybe a supervisor, or something like that, or you're appointed by the organization to become the informal leader, of the group, right? So now, the third one, in any organization, is that, okay, you've done very well as a team leader, and typically a team leader person will have like 1 person, 2, 3 person working with you in a group of 4 or 5, and then you do that, and then you do that job well, and then the organization will say, okay, you see that you know how to handle group dynamics and work in team. We want you to become a manager, and in this manager is about organizing resources and people towards it's about organizing resources. We know that, okay, you have a department budget, you have a budget of, let's say, $1 million, and you have a team of 20 people. Okay, your job is that, how can I use that $1 million, put it into the areas which is most effective, cut away areas where it's wasting. Same with people. How do you put people into areas where it's most effective and do not do things which are not effective? On top of that, selecting the right people for the job. Now, this is in a way organizing as a manager. Okay, and on top of that, it's all about effectiveness. What is the return of the investment I put in? In my investment I put in here, is it giving me a return which is higher? Let's say I put $1 million in and I'm returning higher. If I put the thing, is I cutting the time of achievement shorter, or do that? So this is kind of a job of some of this job of a manager. But on top of that, it's also about people management, about how can I make this person be a better version of themselves. Okay, so that's what manager. So you start to see that your functional capability of level 1 and level 2, which is expertise in your area, start to evolve to become more like a leader. You become more about decision making. Your functional skills are still important, but no longer the primary driver. You start to move into people management, leadership, decision making, resource allocation, all this kind of stuff ongoing. Now, then after that, you go, and then the level 4, then the company will say, wow, you've done a great job in your manager, your group or your team, your department is doing extremely well, and then therefore we want to offer you a leadership position. Okay, now what is leadership position different from competent manager, from a manager? What's a leader versus a manager? Okay, and now the difference is now going into the direction about developing a vision. You start to not manage or do things on the preset objective goal. For example, if you're working in the government, you're the chief, you are working as an economist in the government, and then you say that, okay, the direction of the government is to achieve 3% GDP growth. And just say you're a leadership position, you are a Secretary General or Ministry of Finance, and you say, okay, your job is not to say, okay, let's see how we're going to achieve the 3% only. Yes, it's part of your job, but you can say that, okay, how can we ensure that this 3% will be continuous over the next 20 years? How can I do more than the 3%? How can I do 4%, 5%? How can I prepare for what if economic crisis hit? What do I do to ensure that I stay 3%? Or what do I do if suddenly I have zero growth? What all this reaction? How to prepare for all this in that sense? And how do I get my team to be able to not be rigid, able to be adaptable in order to respond to all these three different things, to prepare for all these things. So the role of leadership start to come in, different scenario. How do you do that? And then to create that, you are starting to build a bit of the. You need to build the team to say that, wow, I know my boss. He's thinking of everything. Well, the leader is thinking of everything. He's thinking about how to ensure that we have future success. He's thinking of giving me direction. What if I this? What should I do? What if I do? So I kind of like, wow, I have a very compelling idea about what's going on. So this is getting to the point where leadership, this is a leader part. And then of course, these are basically C-suite level kind of thing. And then when you get into very much the last stage, which is of course, okay, you've done everything. You've done all the thing below. You create the vision and all this kind of thing. Then you can say, well, I have built the company very well. I got all the results. I get everything you do. What else do you expect from me? And is there anything else that I need to do? And yes, there's more things to do. Is how do you ensure that greatness? Greatness means sustainability over time. You look at something and it's not about, just say you take a name, greatness, a company like Coca-Cola, like, wow, I mean, everyone's know Coca-Cola, right? How is this greatness, and then those who like soccer, and Barcelona, how does that greatness? So how is this greatness achieved? And it's not just about, okay, you get the results. It's you do what you need to do, but but there's more to that. More to that. In the sense of, you as a leader, you go beyond the tangible outcome, and you focus on 15 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now, 20 years from now. You focus on how do you convince your people that this is the company that is, people love the company, they don't want to leave the company. This is my first, I wouldn't want to work for anybody else, or something like that. Or I cannot see how this company will never be, will not be successful. I see this company as a responsible company that take care of the employee. I don't worry. I work in this company. It is such a great environment. It's fair. It's all these kind of things. So that is a different level. It's not just like, okay, I get the result. What do you expect me to do? Something. It's more than that. It's about the culture and all this kind of thing that's coming through. And then that truly is you have all the being a great effective leader and being executive, you have to exude a complete different environment that comes through. So that's the journey that you get. But what I try to bring the point is a very simple point. I refer this from one of my favorite author, which is which shaped my learning, is from Jim Collins, who is Good to Great, and he talks about what greatness means, what great company means, great things means, and this is one portion which is my favorite portion. I use this all the time, and but what is important, the learning which I want you to know is really 2 points. One is that as you start working, functionality is important, and as you grow up in an organization, leadership become important. Okay, and this is what it is. So when you just say you start at level 1 and then you are a level 5 person, so it doesn't match, so or you're level 5 and you're technically strong, but you are not good in terms of leadership, and you're not good in having a good cultural element, then you cannot be a good executive. That's so as you grow up from level 1 to level 5, leadership become more important, culture become important. As you go down to level 1, functional capability become important. Okay, so what I'm trying to do is that as an individual, as a individual person or a potential leader, what Jim Collins says, that greatness is not a function of circumstances. It turns out to be a matter of conscious choice. What it means is that you are in control of whether you want to be great or you don't want to be great. Okay, so for me, it's an important personal lesson that don't look at anybody else, look at yourself, and remember, I have an earlier question. I'm an introvert. How can I gain confidence? The choice is yours. And that choice, I gave some suggestion about how that choice is going to be made. Now, similar case, if you want to be great, the choice is yours. And if you apply those choices correctly, the right time and the right place, you can create greatness for yourself, and you can create greatness in the environment that you work with. So that's the learning which I wanted to share across the board. Okay, now, any question at this point before I move on? So Hazim, Naim, I assume that I move to the next slide.
Yes, Mr. Liu.
Good. All right. Okay. All right. So I spoke to Mr. Joseph, and I did ask him about, okay, what are the leaders in UiTM? What are the things that they talk to students about, which is important, that they want the students to pay attention? And I study what I call the values and competency which that UiTM encourage the student to have, and I explore them. I say that, okay, the question is that, is this relevant? Is this important? How is it in the real world environment? So I would like to share some of them. And I think the first point is about integrity. I think is integrity important? So of course the answer is yes, but that's not the question. The question is that when you work in organization and you are asked to do something which doesn't feel right, and then you say, but your boss or somebody say, just do it. Or number two, you're in a situation where you are supposed to put in an assignment in 3 months' time, in 3 days' time, and you know that, well, you have not done the necessary due diligence, and you want to submit on time, and you know that something will go wrong because it's not pressure tested, not checked. There are many, many circumstances, and you say that, do I do it and things which potentially can result in lack of integrity for the sake of being told or reaching an objective, or integrity is more important, right? So that's really the question that you're asking, you know, not general integrity as a topic. In theory, we can discuss it, what is right and is wrong, very easy. But in real life, you have to face this dilemma, you know, because your boss asks you to do so, or you are supposed to deliver on a timeline, right? So I think the general experience that I have working in multinationals and all this is corporate reputation. Okay. Now, what do you mean by that? Just say, my business is about making medicine, and my medicine is supposed to make people's lives better, and don't have side effect, right? You take a medicine, it's supposed to make you better, not to make you worse, you know. And and basically, when we develop or do research on some medicine, we have a timeline. Just say that, okay, we put the medicine in, we research it. Typically we take about 7 years to bring the product from the lab into what we call the market. We have a patent life of 20 years for a product. We take 7 years to do research, and we then spend 13 years to benefit from the drug, from the medicine that we make. So imagine a product can be 10 billion in sales every year. Big financial challenge, and that's a challenge I face, you know, when I do that. Okay, then 10 billion means typically over the 13-year period, the cumulative economic value of the kind of decision I have to make will be close to 100 billion US dollars, right? Now, if I within the 7 years, if I fail to deliver, I'm delayed, because I found that there are certain things which are questionable but possible. What do I do? Questionable, and I say that, okay, you know, can I just submit the information despite some lacking in order to meet the timeline, because $100 million at stake? Or I do something else that delay by 2 years because I need to do a second clinical trial, and then that will result in the economic value of my product, the economic value of what my decision will be 30 billion less, which will be 70 billion cumulative over the life cycle of the product. So that's the ethical dilemma that you face, you know. And of course, in the end, if I make a decision, I take a risk, and I say, okay, I think it's okay, I'll take a 7, then I will make $30 billion more. And if I'm lucky, nothing happens. Everything go 100 million, I'm doing that. Now, if something happens, just say that, we are seeing some, just say, more positive, that the drug promises to do this, but actually is doing 20% less than what it does, right? That means that out of the patient, it cures 40% of the patient instead of the promise of 60. what will happen to me? Because the product does not deliver its promise, naturally in sales and my product will have less demand because people say this product is not working. So out of the 100 million, I will maybe get, if I'm lucky, I will get 50 million. And second is that second situation will be that, oh, my product has some side effects. I should have tested that for the 2 years that I had. And suddenly a side effect appear. What happens? The product could be discontinued. The product have side effect, less people will use. So usually we will lose in our business, we will lose like 80%, which means that 100 billion become 20, or the product can be discontinued because there's side effect. So suddenly, when you think through that, what has integrity cost me? Short term, I'm taking a risk. I might make 100 million, but I might lose 50 billion instead of losing 30, and I might lose 80 instead of losing 30, and I might lose it completely. I might lose all of the value of it. And that's on the economic sense. On the other hand, longer term, what happens if you buy something in Coca-Cola and Coca-Cola has put in a chemical which result in you developing Alzheimer's disease? Or just say that. I'm just making it up. So this is not a true case. And then they say, oh, it's a mistake. Now we're going to stop it and we withdraw it. What happens to Coca-Cola in the long run? You'll never drink it anymore. So similar in the pharmaceutical industry, corporate reputation become the most important part. So which means that in the future, no matter how good the product that comes through from my company, no one will believe me because I have lied before. I did not deliver the promise. I wouldn't say lie. I say I didn't deliver the promise I made before. And the product that we haven't, the people don't trust us because they say that, well, you know, you have side effect, but you didn't check it. So any product future launch, people will say, well, we are doubtful. We are not so sure. So company reputation go down. So integrity is super, super important because you not just lose economic value, as I described, and second is that you will lose reputation. And that reputation is end game. So company closed down and all this because of all this reason beyond economic. So therefore, in real life, integrity is super, super important in terms of everything you do. However, I caution also that sometimes we also have to weigh. Don't treat integrity as pure black and white. I see people do that. They say that, well, you know what? We better don't do anything because if we do something, I'm afraid of making mistakes. And then in the end, you become ultra conservative, that in the end, you are become too black and white, that you have no more judgment. So again, integrity is the basis of is really very, very good that your college is really asking you to think through this very, very carefully and consider this. And hopefully, I would want all of you to consider, if first of all you consider integrity as one very, very important part, but again, the other part is to apply appropriate judgment to say that don't be completely black and white, but be able to make appropriate judgment, you know, because nothing is black and white, and you have to make judgment in that sense. Okay, that's one. However, when I say make judgment, there are certain things which is black and white. Okay, just for me to qualify. If you have, for example, you have cheating, or lying, or you have all these kind of things. Of course, those are unacceptable. These are completely black and white situation, right? And of course, those situations, unfortunately, or fortunately, is very clear. Those are black and white situation. When I say judgment call, is more of things which are more like, well, when you do a judgment of, just now I say, a product, whether or not it brings more benefit or negative, or side effect. Judgment call means that, well, I think we have done everything possible to do it right, but we cannot cover everything. Now, if things are these are what we call, you've done everything you can and you check everything's okay, and then you push ahead and make decision. So these are what I call judgment call. In different thing is that when I say black and white means in this situation, well, you know what? Everything checks out right, but I think, you know what? Maybe we should not go ahead. Because you know what? If we go ahead, if something goes wrong, and what if something goes wrong? So that is like, okay, you have checked everything is you're doing the right way, and then you create this artificial situation to say that, well, you know what if it goes wrong? So I think for me, those kind of situation I question, and I would challenge people to say that, why have you done everything you possibly can and you still decided not to go ahead? And being ultra conservative, being what you call taking care of your back, don't want to make any single mistake at all. How can progress happen if we behave in this way? So those are the kind which I say require judgment and then to call. So topic number one.
Excuse me, Mr. Liu.
Yes.
I just want to remind that the webinar is only until 1 p.m. So
okay. Thank you. I will close this too quickly. I think the second one, of course, is soft skills. A very important component. I think in my earlier topic, you can see that many of my topics were talking about soft skills, not purely about functional. And last would be, of course, knowing your numbers. And why knowing your numbers is important? Because you're able to measure. You need to know where you are, and also to judge, are you being effective? Are you what to be? Whether or not it's in quality, customer service, strategy, and all this kind of thing. Everything, and even in soft topic, we do surveys, we measure in order to know, is everything going on fine? So knowing your numbers avoids one important weakness in all of us, is about making subjective judgment only. A combination, I think we need to have numbers to be able to even evaluate the softest of things, so that we can understand where we are going for. So this is so knowing your numbers is important, and able to interpret soft topics to become also numerical will become very important, so that as an individual or as a leader or as an organization, you are able to measure where you're going for. So it gives you like the North Pole or the compass. Where is the North Star that you're going for? So this is so important. Okay, now I'll quickly go into my career path. I have a wonderful life and a wonderful working career, and I would divide them into what I call local. I started with a local pharmacist, and then these are local. I work in Malaysia most of the time, all the time in Malaysia, but you know, and then I took on a regional job. I call it regional because it's confined to Asia, where the culture is very similar to Malaysia. You know, I work in Singapore, Korea, Taiwan, Philippines, and China as country manager. And then I went to Johnson & Johnson and I worked as a change a job to a country manager. And then after that, I went into global, and I went to work in a global position in a company called DAPHNA. And then I came back and I become Asia-wide leader, international leader, and then I end up being the president of the company in the United States. And therefore, this is basically my footprint. Now, I think what I do and what position I get is probably looks great, but I think the point is not, oh, nice, look at this. I think it's what is the thinking behind it, which is probably the teachable point of view, which is more important, right? So the concept which I wanted to talk about now from my career path is about how did I grow? I grew by breaking the glass ceiling. That means that all of us, at a certain point of life, when I'm 20 years old, my glass ceiling is here. When I'm 25 years old, my glass ceiling is here. It gets higher and higher. But if you don't break your ceiling, you will limit your potential as an individual. So basically, I call this the break the glass ceiling concept. So I was local, I was regional, and I was global. So I break those ceiling in order to say that, oh, when I was local, how can I think that I'll be running the USA? How can someone working in Malaysia as a pharmacist in Taipei think about becoming the head of the US organization, right? So the process is breaking many, many glass ceilings because before you get there. And of course, in order to break glass ceiling, the only way to change your self-confidence and self-belief is what I call a concept of create and conquer discomfort. So basically what I do is that I look at things which I am discomfort. I told you the story about Korea, and it is very uncomfortable thing to do. So, and you have to conquer that discomfort. By conquering that discomfort, you naturally, like it or not, you will create a situation where you break the glass ceiling. So, couple of things. When I was working local, to break the glass ceiling, I was building the foundation. I was working as sales. I was working in marketing. I was working in regulatory. I was working in clinical trial to try to test out our products. I was working in factory in order to see the manufacturing of product. So basically what I did was I pick up all the necessary functional skills, all of them. And in 5 years, I built all of them in order to really found the foundation. I did not confine myself into one subject matter expert. I went across the board. Why? Because I'm young. I can afford to do all these kind of things, you know, and therefore, since I have time, I did all this to build my foundation. So the second thing is that I decided to work in another city, another state. I was working in Taipei. Then I decided to move to Kuala Lumpur, and then everybody moved to there. And then after that, I moved to Johor Bahru, and then I would, of course, eventually then I moved to Singapore. But basically, it is really changing and challenging myself with different. First, I challenge myself different functional skills, and second, I challenge myself in different working environment. And of course, different country, different place. And of course, third is that I think what I learned early on is that, you need to be able to speak up. That means that you need to be able to, overcome your introvertness and everything else. and then to speak up and become a good listener. However, as I said, some of you might say, "Oh, I'm new. How can I do it?" As I said, there is a way to do that. Is by building the facts, building the belief, and prepare. You will always end up to be someone who is willing to speak up. And so you challenge yourself to say, "Well, this is what I do." I challenge myself to become a good listener and also a good speak up person. Now, then I move to the regional part. What do I need to do? I have to take up a risky assignment. I discussed that about my Korean exam. And then I have to make a significant impact. Okay. So in Korea, of course, I was very successful, in terms of doing the impossible, doing what they say that nobody else could do. And I first I took up the job, and second, I achieved the goal of buying the company back and create a new reputation for the company in Korea. And that was like the big, really significant impact. Do something significant, and therefore, you grow as a person. You break another ceiling. You break another glass ceiling. And finally, when I went global, you, of course, you will have to, you have to figure out. You have to work with, how does somebody in Chile and somebody in Saudi Arabia and somebody in Russia, they are so different people. How can you work with these people? First of all, you're probably scared of them. You don't even know them, and all this kind of stuff. So how do you? So that's another glass ceiling. It's about trust. It's about overcoming fear. People from different country and different background and different language. They don't even speak their language. That's one. The second one, of course, is global, and is of innovation and visionary. So you have to create. You realize that when you're at this level, what I realized that, well, last time somebody tells me what to do, now you have to create something out of nothing. It's like people ask you, what is the vision of your company? I look up. There's nobody else. It's me. I have to create it. So this is again another growth factor that you have to deal with, and then you break glass ceilings again. And last is about continuous learning. Now, even today, in my long big career, I had to, things are changing. I'm dealing with you, the young generation, completely different from me, and completely different thinking. We had to deal with social media changes today. Social media is such an influence. We know the legacy media is no longer the dominant. We have social media, which is influencing, and of course we have AI, which completely changed the whole landscape of how we work. So all this I have to adapt, and there's glass ceiling that I adapt. I used to, like AI. I take 30 minutes now to develop a business plan. In the past, I take 4 weeks to develop a business plan. So I use AI, and to the benefits, for example. So all this is all about continuous learning, continuous growth, continuous, I call it breaking the glass ceiling, and etc. All right, so I would finish with some key takeaways, and all this kind of thing, and I would say that I hope these are some of the quotes that would inspire you. One is that the only way to do great work is to love what you do. As I said, be real, be genuine, take an interest in what you do, and etc. But all costs over here, I always have a contradiction. I never take the word literally from what Steve Jobs said. Sometimes what you do, what you love to do, you may not be able to either support your economy or may not be having the opportunity. Make sure that you have not just one love, but 2 love or 3 love, so they can do something else. Because this is very important. Don't be just stuck in your ways. Just do it. But again, you can only do good work when you really love what it is. The second thing is that this is a contribution from individual and things like that. Second thing, remember we talk about team, teamwork and everything else. We know that talent wins game. You can be a good shooter in the basketball, 3-point shooter, blah blah blah. But however, you need somebody to bring the ball up. You need the big center, somebody to provide the shield to defend, and to kind of allow you to shoot. So teamwork, intelligence win championship. No, Michael Jordan. So the importance of team. And then, of course, very important, resilience and resilience. Greatest glory lies not in never falling, but rising every time you fall. Don't be afraid of failure. And going success all the time doesn't mean that it's the greatest. You're the greatest. What is the greatest is that what you learn from your mistakes and how you rise even better. Human being, and Nelson Mandela was a fighter. He was a killer. He was, before he was in the ANC, then they put in the jail, and he got a lot of time to think about, to say that, can war and killing solve what I want to achieve for South Africa? As you know, after he came out from jail, he became president. He was a man of peace. He was a man of motivation. Everybody loved him. Black, white, brown, everybody loved him in South Africa. Globally, everybody loved him. So he was the greatest by learning from his mistake. But killing and fighting doesn't solve everything, but inspirational leadership. And before I go that, so the point I want to make is that you will have many opportunities to fail in your young life. Always pick yourself up and beat it. And when you rise, that's where your glory will come from. So that's resilience that I want to see from all of you. Remember, when one day you become a manager or a leader, it's not about the title. It's like at home, your mom asks you to do this and do that, and you don't listen. And then however, it's about you cannot have a title of mom or dad, and then you can just do and then you exactly follow what they say. But it's all about impact and influence and inspiration. I think we understand this, that title means nothing. It means something. You can order people around, but to be a leader is all about impact and influence. Manager is only a license to force people to do things, but the real leader is about influence and impact. And of course, as you move on, the most important is all about creativity and innovation. Peter Drucker say the best way to predict the future is to create it. Okay, so be a follower, but one day, if you want to be a leader, entrepreneur, you have to create your own vision. So when you look up, there's nobody there. It's only you to create it, as I mentioned. And so so if you want to be having a good future, work to create it. And last, from Ronald Reagan, the leader is not the one who does the greatest thing, and the leader is the one who get people to do greatest thing. A leader is not you doing things yourself, because it's only one of you, but there's millions of people around you, and you can get them to work for you and do for you. Then and for them to perform, you multiply that power to 1 million times. So that is the landmark of a multiplying factor of what a great leader does. Okay, so that's all I wanted to share with all of you. I know my time is up. I will pass it back to the moderator, and I know that there may not be time for questions and answer, but if you still want to have a question and answer, I'm still available. But those who have to leave, I can understand. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Liu, for that insightful and engaging presentation. Now we love to open the floor for questions. There are a few questions inside the chat box, and we'll be reading them out.
Okay, so In the chat box, there are so many questions.
Thank
Yeah.
you, appreciate it.
Mm, I would like to ask the question on what what common mistakes should fresh graduates avoid when starting their careers?
Okay. I would say I would encourage. Okay, I have two ways to say that. If you make mistakes, um, it's okay. Why? Because human being learn from mistakes. Okay, and of course, I'm saying in a not in a literal manner. I think making mistakes means it's about taking risks, and you got a good idea. Don't be afraid that that idea will fail, because because that will prevent you from progressing, and I think this is where I would really encourage to you. However, in the subject of integrity, don't make mistakes which is integrity related, which are black and white, lie, cheat, and do all this, because even for young people, if you do something wrong, it might affect you for a whole lifetime, and this is something which I would be very careful. But again, I differentiate that against judgment call, those things that you need to do. So um, however, I will look at mistakes. There are different mistakes, but if you can like turn around, like you look at probably issues and problem and turn it around from the other way around and say that how can this be positive? And if you those that can turn around and go ahead and do it. So mistakes. Uh, to answer the question directly, avoid mistakes which are integrity related, and but other mistakes which are more like, hey, what if I do this and it fails? I think that is probably something that I would say don't worry about it too much, because if you're in if because that potentially could result in your learning. Okay, so not the easiest question to answer. A natural human being is that you do not know which are the mistakes that you can make and which are the mistakes you cannot make. But always ask. You can do a gut check in your what you call your common sense, gut check. You say, I think this is should be okay. Trust yourself. Or the other way is to ask somebody who you believe and trust and say, hey, you think I should do this? Is it okay if can I do this? I know there's a risk behind it. Can I do this? So always depend on people that you trust to do that, and then you probably get your answer very quickly. But I think your gut feel will be very, very important. Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Leo. There's another question.
Okay, for the next question, I would like to ask about how do you respond to a bad behavior company in a constructive way? Bad behavior in a company.
Okay. Yep. I think there are a couple of ways you can deal with that. I think first of all, um, in a company which is behaving badly, or maybe sometimes your boss or something that is doing something which is not right or wrong, you have to point out, or the company is not behaving properly. There are a couple of ways available for you. One is, of course, the best tool will be short-term and immediate will be feedback, direct feedback, or you can give feedback to your company or your superior. in the constructive way, to say, or asking questions like, why are we doing this? Or suggesting with a solution to say that, why don't can we do this, which is of course better. Having that kind of feedback in a way which of course will solve 90% of the issue. Normally will solve 90% of the issue. The other way, which I think in companies or whatever allow, is that we have a scenario where we call it, you heard about the term whistleblowing. And whistleblowing, if used correctly, is an opportunity for this to be brought up to attention of the company at the highest level. So it's not meant for political purpose. It's not meant for anything to damage anybody, but it could be whistleblowing. So organization should create whistleblowing opportunity for people to bring up, so that anonymously people can put that up. But usually under the circumstances of anonymous situation, normally the company would then always say that, okay, if they will need to know who is the one, so that they can talk to the person and do that. So that's always the something they do. Now the third situation will be through surveys. Normally in companies we do pulse survey, and we do pulse survey like once every 6 months, and there's an opportunity to give feedback in the pulse survey on a annual, semi-annual basis to do that. The last part where you can do that is through your performance reviews. During performance review discussion, there's an opportunity to give feedback when they say that, is there anything you can suggest to the company or whatever to do? So there are avenues to create that. So in situation, so there are many opportunities to bring those topics up in a constructive, appropriate manner. I'm assuming that all these are not criminal in nature, of course, and they are not not like abused or all this kind of very criminal related topic, or cheating, lying, and which can have economic damage and all this kind of thing, not in that kind of nature, and those are different. They are in the category of integrity, and in the category of integrity, the outcome of those bad result will be a negative appearance of an organization. You have things like corruption, you have things like cheating in the stock market and all this kind of thing, and or harassment of employees in a very serious manner. So these are all completely different story. Those are subject to a completely different scale, and those kind of things have to be differentiated out, and those will be somehow, from my personal opinion, should then be, very, very strong action will be taken, including criminal related actions could happen. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Liu. I think that's all the time we have for Q&A session. The other question inside the chat box, we will email to you later.
Yeah, I will. If you send it to me, I will send it back for the person asking question. I will reply to them, and they will get the answer through email. Yeah, please send it to me.
All right.
Okay, so just a final note. Again, I thank you for all the time that you are spending with me, and I hope this has been very valuable to all of you. Hopefully, I'm able to put the real world situation to all of you, and sometimes the answer can be, hopefully they are not too vague, because some of them are very judgmental in nature, and that comes to values, which integrity values are what are very, very, very important, that we understand these integrity values in order to make some of the decision. And I also wanted, one of the things I want to encourage people is to understand the concept of, you don't try, you never know. If there's no action, you will never progress. You know, I'm a person who is very, what I call, Newtonian in approach. If you remember Isaac Newton, when there's an action, there's a reaction. Those which are signs. So if you do nothing, nothing is going to happen. Okay. So I will encourage all of you to really, if whatever you think is you want to do, take action of it. Only action, then you will know what's going to going on. And of course, taking from what Nelson Mandela say, failure, if you rise from a failure, you learn from a failure and grow. That will be the greatest learning of all, and that will be the greatest glory of all in terms of everything you do. So I encourage you to take risks, and then and therefore hopefully all of you will learn, and you become better and greater person than you are previously before. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. And all of you have a great day, and thank you for spending 2 hours of your time with me. And I enjoy it, and I wish you
Excuse me,
the best.
before anyone leave, we'll be having a group photo session. So I would like to ask everyone to open their camera to take picture.
Okay, all right. Well, I see all very good-looking people out there.
Yeah.
Hi.
All right. Okay, 1, 2, 3. Okay. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Okay, last one. Freestyle. All right. Okay, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Liu. Thank you for your time. Really
Okay,
appreciate
all right.
you.
All the best, and good luck to everyone. Okay, bye-bye.
All right.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, Mr.
Liu.
Liu.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank
Liu.
you, Naeem, Teo, Azim, and thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Joseph, can we have a kind of like a
Yeah,
chat?
okay, sure. I'll just stop the recording.
We can we just those, when people leave, we can together with Naeem and Azim, just to get a bit of feedback.
Okay.